Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
But yeah, I mean, like everybody was sort of together, and every once in a while you would hear somebody go out or come back in, and it's just like, I don't know, kind of focus on small sounds that you don't get during the day. Very different from my last experience with it.
Wow. It gets different every time.
I bet.
Anyone else?
I messed it up a whole bunch. I kept switching around Hare Hare and Rama Rama at the end. And I also noticed that it was very different from with the music.
Mm.
But then again, at the same time, we all like kind of sped up in unison, and at the end, it seems like we were doing it a lot faster than we were when we started. Just like
That's kind of natural, actually.
Yeah.
It kind of just happens.
yeah, it did feel like it.
Either one is hungry, so he's like, okay, let's go. But I don't think that is the actual. It's not the actual reason. It actually just naturally kind of happens. As you become more adept at it, it goes a little faster. Manu, did you want to share anything? Yeah.
Well, I realized that like the sound like made a more pleasant internal environment for my like thoughts, because I noticed that like even though I was talking and I would like be saying it right, like all of a sudden I'd just be thinking of something completely different, and then I'd just work back in. And, like I know that I would think we would have to focus on speaking all the time, but we don't.
Oh, I knew it. Sweet
I closed my eyes this time, and that was totally different. Like,
Oh, yeah, I did that too.
completely. Which is really cool.
Yeah, well, actually, the reason for closing the eyes in yoga is because if you leave the eyes open, the tendency is to, then you lose focus. Actually, in the yoga system, they would keep the eyes half open. That's a little challenging. Have you ever tried doing that? I mean, I get like dizzy if I do that. I feel like weird. But they would keep it, because if you keep them all the way closed, the tendency will be. And if you keep them open, then distracted. So they keep it half closed. No, just open enough so you don't sleep, because the agitation created from the eyes keeps you. That is not exactly how it's described. I'm being playful because actually in this age people don't have a lot of qualification for spiritual practices because the environment does not allow for it, actually. So then this group activity together gives a lot of, let's say, strength for persons who may not be having the requisite, internal, let's say, strength or impetus to do like that. So there are a lot of things that can be said about this, but I'm going to withhold because our hour is already passed. I don't know if anyone wants to have any questions. We can do a little kirtan and then we have prasad here.
Yeah, exactly.